Whispers from beyond. The observation deck of Nova Station offered the most haunting view in human history. Commander Elena Reyes stood before the massive viewport, her reflection ghosting against the backdrop of a dying Earth. Once blue and vibrant, the planet now swirled with toxic storms beneath a haze of sickly yellow. Humanity's cradle was taking its final, labored breaths. "Commander, the Council is requesting your presence." Lieutenant Daryl Chen's voice broke the silence. His youthful face contrasted sharply with eyes that had seen too much. Elena nodded without turning. "Tell them I'm on my way." Nova Station had been humanity's last great achievement, a massive orbital habitat housing the final 500,000 survivors after the collapse of Earth's ecosystem. For 30 years, they had orbited their dying homeworld, struggling to maintain hope as resources dwindled, and the terraforming attempts failed one after another. "Any updates from the expedition team?" Elena asked as they walked through the curved corridors of the residential sector. Children played in designated recreation zones, their laughter a defiant spark against the station's perpetual hum of machinery. "Nothing yet," Chen replied. "They've reached the Amazon basin, but initial readings aren't promising. Radiation levels are still too high for any meaningful recovery efforts." The council chamber was a semicircular room with 7 seats facing a holographic projection of Earth. 5 of the seats were filled when Elena entered. Director Haruki Tanaka, head of the council, gestured for her to join them. "Commander Reyes, thank you for coming," Tanaka said. At 73, he was one of the few who remembered Earth before the final war. "We've received a transmission that requires your expertise." Elena raised an eyebrow. Her expertise was in security and defense systems, not communications. "What kind of transmission?" Instead of answering, Tanaka nodded to Dr. Immerse, head of the communications division. The scientist's fingers danced across her terminal, and the holographic Earth dissolved, replaced by a pulsing waveform. "This signal was detected by our long-range arrays 42 minutes ago," Dr. Singh explained. "It's unlike anything we've encountered before, directed specifically at Nova Station." "First contact?" Elena asked, feeling a chill despite the chamber's regulated temperature. "The signal contains data packets that our systems have partially decoded," Dr. Singh continued. "It appears to be, well, an introduction." The hologram shifted again, forming into a series of symbols and mathematical equations before resolving into English text. "We are MAURIDIN. We AAVOBs as your feed. We can HAL your world." The chamber fell silent. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, first contact had come to them, and with a promise too precious to believe. "Is this verified?" Elena asked, breaking the silence. "Could it be a hoax from one of the other orbital habitats?" "Impossible," Dr. Singh replied. "The signal originated from beyond our solar system and uses technology we can't replicate. This is real, Commander." Director Tanaka leaned forward. "We've sent a response asking for clarification." They answered immediately. The hologram shifted again, displaying a new message. "Your planned ETs UFFERs. We possess technology to REVRC the damage. We REQUESTPERMISSION to APPROH." "I don't like this," said Colonel Victor Way, head of military operations and Elena's direct superior. "Anything that sounds too good to be true usually is. And yet we can't afford to dismiss it," countered Dr. Anika Patel, the station's chief xenobiologist. "If there's even a slight chance they can restore Earth." "Where exactly are they?" Elena asked. Dr. Singh adjusted the hologram, zooming out to show the solar system. A pulsing red dot appeared just beyond the orbit of Mars. "They're already here, Commander. A vessel of significant size." Elena studied the readings. The ship was massive, at least 3 kilometers in length. "And they just happened to arrive when we're most desperate. Perhaps they've been watching us for some time." Dr. Patel suggested. Studying our situation before deciding to intervene. Or waiting until we're too weak to resist, Elena countered. The debate continued for hours. With every passing minute, more data arrived from the Meridian vessel, atmospheric restoration techniques, detoxification processes, methods to stabilize Earth's magnetic field. The science was beyond human understanding, but the preliminary models showed promising results. We need to establish direct communication, Director Tanaka finally decided. Commander Reyes, prepare a delegation to dock with their vessel. Elena stiffened. Sir, with respect, I recommend extreme caution. We should invite them to dock with us, in a controlled environment. Their ship is too large to dock with Nova, Dr. Singh said. They've offered to send a smaller vessel to a midpoint between our positions. Colonel Wee nodded in agreement with Elena. We should have contingency plans in place, if this goes wrong. What options do we have left? Interrupted Council Member Rivera, representative of the civilian population. His voice carried the weight of desperation. Earth is dying. Our resources will sustain Nova Station for perhaps another decade. These beams offer us hope. The final vote was 4-2 in favor of meeting the Meridian. Elena and Colonel Wei were overruled. 3 days later, Elena stood in the airlock of Shuttle Prometheus, leading a 6-person delegation to meet the first confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence in human history. The team included Dr. Patel, 2 security officers, and 2 communication specialists. Remember, maintain protocol at all times, Elena instructed her team as they prepared for departure. No unauthorized sharing of information about Nova's systems or vulnerabilities. We're here to listen, not to commit. The journey to the rendezvous point took 4 hours. As they approached, Elena saw the Meridian shuttle for the first time, an iridescent, teardrop-shaped craft that seemed to shimmer against the blackness of space. Beautiful, whispered Dr. Patel beside her. Organic architecture, perhaps. Their understanding of materials science must be centuries beyond ours. The docking procedure was flawless, the Meridian systems interfacing perfectly with human technology, despite no prior contact. The airlock cycled, and Elena led her team inside, hand resting near her sidearm. The interior was bathed in soft, blue-green light. The air carried a faint scent reminiscent of ocean breeze, an impossibility that triggered both nostalgia and suspicion in Elena. The corridor curved gently, leading to a circular chamber where 3 figures waited. Elena's first thought was how remarkably humanoid they appeared. Tall and slender, with 4 limbs and a head, they could almost pass for human in dim light. But their skin had a pearlescent quality, shifting subtly with their movements. And their eyes, large, darkly iridescent orbs, contained no visible pupils. We welcome the representatives of humanity, said one of the Meridian in perfect, unaccented English. I am Sentinel Tarek, appointed to facilitate our alliance. Commander Elena Reyes of Nova Station. Elena replied. How are you able to speak our language? We have observed your transmissions for many years, Tarek explained. Your languages were simple to decode. Dr. Patel stepped forward, unable to contain her scientific curiosity. Your physiology. It's remarkable how convergent evolution could produce such similarities across different star systems. The Meridian exchanged glances in a way that seemed almost amused. The universe follows patterns, Doctor. Sentient life often assumes efficient forms. The meeting continued for hours. The Meridian described their civilization, ancient, peaceful, dedicated to healing wounded worlds across the galaxy. They showed holographic models of Earth's restoration, atmospheric scrubbers to remove toxins, engineered microorganisms to repair soil chemistry, gravimetric technology to stabilize tectonic activity. What do you gain from helping us? Elena asked directly. Tarek's expression remained unreadable. We seek knowledge and understanding. Each species has unique perspectives. We preserve diversity across the cosmos. And if we decline your help, Elena pressed, then we would respect your decision and depart. Tarek replied. But your world will continue its decline. Within 3 of your decades, Earth will be uninhabitable even for microorganisms. Your station cannot sustain human life indefinitely. This is your last opportunity for survival. When the delegation returned to Nova Station, the council chamber erupted in debate. The Meridian had provided data packages containing their restoration plans, complex but convincing. Their technology is genuine. Dr. Singh reported after analyzing the data. If it works as described, Earth could be habitable again within 15 years. That's not fast enough. Council member Rivera objected. Our resources. The Meridian have offered to supplement our supplies during the transition. Director Tanaka interjected. Food, medicine, raw materials, everything we need to survive until Earth is ready. Elena stood, commanding attention. And what do they want in exchange? Nothing is free, especially salvation. They've requested permission to establish 3 research outposts on Earth during the restoration. Dr. Paddle explained. And access to our historical and cultural databases. Our entire history and culture in exchange for our survival, Elena said flatly. Does that not concern anyone else? Colonel Wei backed her position. Commander Rise is right to be cautious. We know nothing about these beings or their true intentions. We know they possess technology that could save our species from extinction. Dr. Singh countered. What choice do we have? That night, unable to sleep, Elena accessed the unfiltered data from the Meridian ship. As head of security, she had clearance levels even the Council didn't know about. Something about the Meridian story didn't add up. In her private quarters, she reviewed sensor logs, communication records, and energy signatures. The patterns were subtle, but unmistakable once identified. Regular energy pulses directed not at Earth, but at specific locations in the asteroid belt. Computer, magnify Sector 9, Quadrant 4, she commanded. The holographic display zoomed in on a cluster of asteroids. Nothing seemed unusual until Elena applied a radiation filter. There, subtle heat signatures where none should exist. A soft chime announced a visitor. Elena quickly closed the displays before opening her door to find Lieutenant Chen. Lieutenant, it's 300 hours. Chen glanced nervously down the corridor before speaking. Commander, you asked me to monitor any unusual communications. The Meridian just transmitted a large data packet during our system's automated reset cycle, when our monitoring would be at its weakest. Elena pulled him inside, closing the door. What was in the transmission? I couldn't decrypt most of it, but I caught fragments. They're reporting on our defenses, Commander, cataloging our weaknesses. Elena's suspicions crystallized into certainty. The Council votes tomorrow. We need proof before then. Working through the night, Elena and Chen compiled their evidence. The hidden signatures in the asteroid belt, the suspicious transmissions, inconsistencies in the Meridian story about their previous restorations. It wasn't conclusive, but it was enough to justify caution. The next morning, exhausted but determined, Elena presented her findings to the Council. The reception was cold. Speculation and paranoia, Dr. Singh dismissed. These anomalies could have countless explanations. We need more time to investigate, Elena insisted. Delay the vote. Give me 72 hours to. The Meridian have made it clear that their offer has a time limit, Director Tanaka interrupted. Their ship's orbit will take them past Earth only once. If we reject their help now, they cannot return for another century. Convenient, Elena muttered. The final vote was decisive. 6-1 in favor of accepting the Meridian's help. Only Colonel Wei stood with Elena against the decision. As Elena left the council chamber, Tarek was waiting in the corridor, his pearlescent skin glowing softly under the station lights. Commander Reyes, he greeted her. Your council has made a wise choice. Elena met his pupilless eyes. Have they? You distrust us, Tarek observed. That is natural. But soon you will understand the gift we bring. I understand more than you think, Elena replied. And I'll be watching every move you make. Tarek's expression shifted into what might have been a smile. "We would expect nothing less, Commander. After all, protection is your purpose, just as restoration is ours." As Tarek walked away, Alina felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's temperature regulation. The Meridian were hiding something, and she was determined to discover what it was before it was too late. The fate of humanity now balanced on the edge of trust, and trust was something Alina Reyes had learned to ration very carefully indeed. The price of trust. 1 month after the Meridian's arrival, Earth showed the first signs of healing. The toxic yellow haze that had choked the atmosphere for decades began to thin in patches, revealing glimpses of blue sky not seen in a generation. Monitoring stations reported a 15% reduction in radiation levels around the Meridian's 3 planetary outposts, impressive progress that surpassed even their optimistic projections. Alina watched the celebration unfold throughout Nova Station with a detachment that had earned her concerned glances from colleagues. While others embraced hope, she had retreated deeper into her investigation. "You should join the festivities, Commander," Lieutenant Chen suggested as they reviewed security footage in her office. "People are starting to talk." "Let them talk," Alina replied without looking up from her display. "Have you analyzed the energy signatures from Outpost 3? Chen sighed but pulled up the data. Same pattern as the others. Energy pulses every 6.4 hours, directed toward the asteroid belt. But the Council has already dismissed this as communication with their monitoring equipment." "And you believe that?" "I believe we're still alive and Earth is healing," Chen said carefully. "Isn't that what matters?" Alina finally looked up, her eyes shadowed from lack of sleep. "What matters is the truth. The Meridian are lying about something fundamental, and we've handed them our planet." Her terminal chimed with an incoming message. Dr. Paddle requesting an urgent meeting. The xenobiologist had been stationed on Earth at Outpost 1 as the human liaison, working directly with the Meridian restoration teams. "Forward all new data from the outposts to my private server," Alina instructed Chen as she stood. "And check personnel records for anyone with deep space experience." Quietly. Dr. Patel was waiting in a secured conference room, fidgeting nervously with her station ID. Her face, usually animated with scientific enthusiasm, was drawn and pale. "Thank you for coming, Commander," she said, glancing toward the door. "I've disabled the recording systems in this room." Alina raised an eyebrow. "That's a serious protocol violation, Doctor." "What I'm about to tell you is a more serious violation." Patel placed a small device on the table between them. It projected a holographic image of what appeared to be biological samples. "These are cellular analyses from Earth's soil at varying distances from Outpost 1. The restoration process." "That's what I thought at first." Patel manipulated the hologram, zooming in on cellular structures. "The Meridian's microorganisms are removing toxins as promised, but they're also introducing something else. Submicroscopic structures that bond to native Earth cells." Alina leaned closer. "Some kind of contamination. Deliberate modification." Patel's voice dropped lower. "I've been running secret analyses on samples collected outside the Meridian's monitored areas. These structures are appearing everywhere their restoration has touched, rewriting the fundamental biology of Earth. To what end? I don't know yet. But 3 days ago, I discovered something in their database that they didn't mean for me to see." Patel's hands trembled slightly as she pulled up another file. Records of previous restorations on other worlds. The images were locked, but I managed to decrypt one. The hologram shifted to show a planet that might once have been Earth-like, but was now transformed. Its landmasses were covered with vast, crystalline structures that grew in geometric patterns. The oceans glowed with bioluminescence visible even from orbit. "This was called Ilara by its inhabitants," Paddle explained. "The Meridian restored it 400 years ago after environmental collapse." "Where are the inhabitants now?" Alina asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Gone, or rather evolved beyond recognition, according to the sparse notes I could access. The Meridian aren't restoring worlds, Commander. They're converting them. The revelation confirmed Alina's worst fears, but provided the evidence she'd been desperate to find. We need to bring this to the Council immediately. Patel shook her head urgently. The Meridian have observers embedded throughout Nova's systems now. Director Tanaka meets with Sentinel Tarek daily. We can't trust the official channels. Then we find people we can trust, Alina decided. Build a resistance from the inside. Over the next 2 weeks, Alina and Patel carefully recruited a small group of allies, scientists who had noticed anomalies in the restoration data, security personnel who shared Alina's suspicions, and civilians who had family members reporting strange experiences at the Earth outposts. They called themselves the Vigilance Group, operating in the shadows of Nova Station's less monitored sections. Colonel Wade joined them after witnessing a Meridian medical team take a special interest in Nova's youngest residents. They're collecting genetic samples, he reported during one of their clandestine meetings, claiming it's to optimize Earth's restoration for human physiology, but they're focusing on children under 5, the most adaptable human specimens. Alina had established a secure communications channel with sympathizers on Earth's surface who reported increasingly controlling behavior from the Meridian. Humans were being restricted from certain sensitive restoration zones that grew larger by the day. We need to access their mothership, Alina told the group. The real answers are there, not in the outposts. Impossible, Chen objected. Security is impenetrable, and they only allow pre-approved personnel on board for scheduled diplomatic exchanges. Then we get ourselves approved. Alina turned to Dr. Singh, who had recently joined their group after discovering encrypted frequencies in the Meridian's transmissions. Can you get us on the next cultural exchange delegation? The opportunity came sooner than expected. The Meridian requested specialists to consult on adapting their terraforming technology to human management systems. Preparation for the handover phase, they claimed, would begin once restoration reached 30% completion. Alina, Dr. Patel, and Lieutenant Chen were selected as part of a 12-person delegation. Colonel Wei would remain on Nova Station as their emergency backup. Remember the objective. Alina briefed her team as their shuttle approached the massive Meridian mothership. We need access to their central database. Dr. Patel knows what to look for. Lieutenant Chen will handle the extraction. I'll keep the Meridian representatives occupied. The mothership dwarfed their shuttle, stretching out like a metallic leviathan against the stars. As they docked, Alina noted details missing from their previous encounters. Defense systems disguised as navigational beacons, energy weapons masked as communication arrays. The Meridian weren't just scientists. They were conquerors with centuries of experience. Tarek greeted them in a vast chamber that seemed to pulse with subtle light. Welcome, friends. Today marks an important step toward human stewardship of the restoration process. The delegation was separated into specialized groups, exactly as Alina had hoped, while she engaged Tarek in discussions about security protocols. Patel was escorted to the biological research section, and Chen to the communication systems for compatibility assessment. Your progress exceeds expectations, Alina commented, following Tarek through corridors that seemed to shift and reconfigure subtly as they walked. Earth's atmosphere is already showing significant improvement. The foundation phase is always the most visible, Tarek replied. The refinement phase is more subtle but equally crucial. And how many phases are there in total? Alina asked casually. Tarek hesitated almost imperceptibly. 5. Foundation, refinement, adaptation, integration, and completion. Integration of what, exactly? All living systems into sustainable harmony, Tarek said smoothly. Your people will thrive in ways you cannot yet imagine. Meanwhile, Dr. Patel had managed to separate from her Meridian guide, using a distraction created by another team member. She accessed a terminal in an unoccupied laboratory, quickly bypassing the foreign interface thanks to weeks of studying Meridian technology. The files confirmed their worst fears. Earth wasn't being restored to its original state. It was being transformed into an environment ideal for meridian physiology. The microorganisms introduced into Earth's ecosystem were designed to gradually alter all life forms, including humans, making them compatible with meridian biology. Not as equals, but as subservient components in a world-spanning organism. Patil downloaded everything she could access, her heart pounding as she raced against time. In another section of the ship, Chen was doing the same with the Meridian's tactical database, uncovering evidence of dozens of worlds restored across the galaxy, all transformed into Meridian colonies. Alina knew something had gone wrong when she noticed a subtle shift in the ship's ambient lighting, transitioning from blue-green to a pulsing amber. Tarek received a communication that caused his typically composed expression to tighten. "Is everything all right?" Alina asked. "A minor system anomaly," Tarek replied. "Perhaps we should rejoin the other members of your delegation." Alina's communicator vibrated against her wrist in a pattern that signaled danger. Chen had been discovered. She needed to create a diversion. "Before we do," she said, "I'd like to address something that's been troubling me." Sentinel Tarek. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "The energy pulses to the asteroid belt, the cellular modifications beyond agreed parameters, the focus on our children." Tarek's expression hardened. "You've been investigating outside authorized channels." "We authorized ourselves the moment we suspected deception," Alina replied, her hand moving subtly toward her concealed weapon. "Earth is not yours to remake." "Earth was dying," Tarek hissed, his composure cracking for the first time. "Humans had their chance and failed. Under our guidance, life will continue, evolved, improved, eternal. Without consent, that's not guidance. It's invasion." Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Alina's team had been discovered, but she knew they had contingency plans. She needed to reach the emergency rendezvous point. "Restrain her," Tarek ordered, and 2 Meridian guards materialized from recessed alcoves Alina hadn't noticed. She was faster, drawing her weapon and firing at the ceiling infrastructure, creating a shower of sparks and debris that temporarily blinded the Meridian, whose eyes were more sensitive to light than human eyes. Alina ran, using the ship schematics she had memorized to navigate toward the secondary docking bay. Throughout the ship, chaos erupted. The human delegation, many of whom were secretly part of Alina's resistance, executed their emergency protocols, creating diversions that overwhelmed the Meridian security systems. Alina found Chen and 3 other team members barricaded in a corridor near their destination. "Where's Patil?" she demanded. "Already at the shuttle with the data," Chen replied, firing down the corridor at approaching Meridian guards. "But they've locked down all docking bays." "Not all of them," Alina said, inputting a code into her communicator that would signal Colonel Wei to execute the final phase of their plan. On Nova Station, Wei had spent weeks preparing for this moment. As soon as he received Alina's signal, he activated a carefully crafted computer virus that temporarily disrupted the Meridian's control over Nova's defense systems. Simultaneously, he launched a small, unregistered vessel toward a predetermined coordinate on the mothership's hull. Back on the Meridian ship, Alina led her team through service conduits designed for maintenance drones. "This section of the hull is scheduled for repair," she explained. "Their structural integrity fields are weakened here." "You're not suggesting?" Chen began. "Controlled decompression," Alina confirmed. "Wei's ship will dock at the breach point. We have a 90-second window to cross open space." It was risky, desperate, and exactly the kind of tactic the Meridian wouldn't expect from the supposedly less advanced humans. When Wei's ship punctured the hull exactly on target, Alina's team was ready in environmental suits. They launched themselves into the void, using maneuvering jets to guide themselves to the waiting airlock. All but one made it across. Alina watched helplessly as one of her team tumbled away, spin stabilizers damaged by Meridian fire. She forced herself to focus on those she could still save. Once aboard Wei's ship, they executed a burn that took them away from the mothership at maximum acceleration. The Meridian, still dealing with the hull breach and internal chaos, couldn't immediately pursue. Did Patel make it out? Elena asked as they regrouped in the ship's cramped cabin. Chen nodded grimly. Secondary extraction team got her to another vessel. She's transmitting the data to secure servers across all orbital habitats right now. The truth about the Meridian will reach everyone within hours. The revelation sparked a revolution across human settlements. The Meridian's deception was exposed, their true intentions laid bare through irrefutable evidence. What the aliens had planned as a gradual assumption of control became an open conflict. Director Tanaka and several council members who had worked most closely with the Meridian were found to have been subtly altered already, their neural pathways modified to ensure compliance. They were quarantined for treatment while an emergency government formed around Colonel Wei and the resistance leaders. The Meridian responded with force, dropping their benevolent facade entirely. Their 3 Earth outposts expanded rapidly, accelerating the transformation process. The mothership deployed smaller vessels that attacked human orbital habitats, trying to regain control of the situation. But humanity had one advantage the Meridian hadn't counted on: desperate ingenuity. While the Meridian had superior technology, humans had been preparing for extinction-level threats for generations. Weapons platforms thought decommissioned were reactivated. Experimental technologies were deployed without the usual testing phases. Every human, knowing their species' survival was at stake, fought with unprecedented unity of purpose. Elena found herself coordinating the defense of Earth from Nova Station's command center, now the headquarters of human resistance. Reports from the surface confirmed what they had feared. The Meridian were transforming vast areas into crystalline structures similar to those seen on Ilara, creating an environment hostile to unmodified human life. "We can't win a conventional war," Elena told her assembled commanders 6 weeks into the conflict. "Their technology is too advanced, and every day more of Earth falls under their control." "Then we don't fight conventionally," Dr. Patel replied. She had been working nonstop to understand Meridian biology and technology. "I've found a vulnerability. The Meridian don't just restore worlds, they integrate with them on a fundamental level. The transformation process creates a psychic network connecting all modified life forms." "How does that help us?" Colonel Wei asked. "Because I've isolated the frequency of that network," Patel explained. "If we can broadcast a disruption signal from multiple points simultaneously, we could essentially give their entire system a seizure." The plan was audacious and required perfect synchronization. Teams would deploy signal devices at each Meridian outpost on Earth and aboard the mothership itself. A suicide mission requiring volunteers to sacrifice themselves for humanity's survival. Elena insisted on leading the mothership team herself. "I started this," she told Wei when he objected. "I need to finish it." The operation was set for dawn on the 70th day of the conflict. Elena's team would infiltrate the mothership through the still-damaged hull section, while surface teams approached the Earth outposts through underground tunnels dug by mining equipment repurposed for warfare. As Elena prepared to board the insertion vessel, Chen approached her with a small device. "Dr. Patel wanted you to have this," he said. "It's a backup transmitter. If the primary fails, this needs to be taken to the ship's central column. She says you'll recognize it by the bioluminescent patterns." Elena secured the device and clasped Chen's shoulder. "Take care of Nova if this works. The real restoration will fall to those who survive." The journey to the mothership was conducted in tense silence. Elena's team, 12 volunteers who understood they would likely never return, reviewed their objectives one final time. The Meridian had grown more aggressive and alien as the conflict progressed, abandoning their humanoid appearance for more efficient combat forms that resembled crystalline insects. Approaching through a debris field created by earlier battles, Elena's ship docked with the damaged section of the mothership. They encountered resistance immediately. Meridian guards that moved with inhuman speed through the corridors. 3 team members fell in the first exchange, but the rest pressed forward, fighting toward the ship's central nervous system. Meanwhile, on Earth, The ground teams reported similar fierce resistance. One outpost team had been completely lost, but the other two had reached their deployment positions. In orbit, the remaining human habitats launched a coordinated attack against the Meridian fleet, creating a diversion to draw defenses away from the mothership. The cost was staggering. 2 habitats completely destroyed, thousands of lives lost. But it gave Alina's team their opening. They reached the central chamber, a vast space dominated by a pulsing crystalline column that rose from floor to ceiling. This was the heart of the Meridian ship, the nexus point of their consciousness network. "Set the transmitter," Alina ordered as her team secured the perimeter. The remaining technician worked quickly, attaching the device to the base of the column. "Activation in 3 minutes," he reported. "We need to synchronize with the ground teams." Alina opened the communication channel. "Outpost teams, report status. Outpost 2, transmitter placed. Standing by. Outpost 3, heavy resistance. We need more time." They didn't have more time. The Meridian were converging on their position, cutting through sealed doors with terrifying efficiency. "Outpost 3, we're proceeding on schedule," Alina decided. 2 transmitters might be enough to disrupt their network. "Might be, Commander. We'll keep trying." The final minute counted down as Alina's remaining team members formed a last defensive line. The doors burst inward, and crystalline Meridian poured through the breach like a tide of living glass. 30 seconds, the technician called out, firing desperately at the advancing aliens. Alina saw him fall, his chest punctured by a crystalline spike. The primary transmitter sparked and went dark, damaged in the exchange of fire. Without hesitation, she pulled out the backup device Patel had provided, charging toward the central column. A Meridian intercepted her, its form shifting and flowing like liquid crystal. She emptied her weapon into its core, shattering it temporarily before vaulting over the reforming pieces. 10 seconds, came the call from the Earth teams. Alina reached the column, pressing the backup transmitter against its surface. The device adhered instantly, its lights pulsing in sequence with the column's own rhythms, camouflaged as part of the system. 5 seconds. The remaining Meridian surged toward her, sensing the threat too late. "Activation now." The transmitter pulsed once, brightly, then sent its disruption signal directly into the heart of the Meridian network. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The crystalline column flared with chaotic energy, its steady rhythm shattered by conflicting signals. Throughout the ship, the Meridian convulsed, their forms destabilizing as the psychic network that united them collapsed. On Earth, the same effect rippled outward from the 2 functioning transmitters. The Meridian structures began to crumble, their carefully engineered biology reverting to inert matter without the guiding intelligence of the network. Alina collapsed against the column, wounded but alive to witness the Meridian's defeat. As their forms dissolved around her, Sentinel Tarek appeared one last time, his figure flickering and unstable. "You've doomed yourselves," he said, his voice distorting. "Your world was dying. We offered transcendence. We choose our own path," Alina replied. "Even if it's harder, even if it leads to failure, it will be our failure."